Word Balloon is brought to you by the League of Word Balloon Listeners.
As part of a small line of pieces we're doing that are kind of pin-up-y type shots where they're a little bit rougher and simpler with just a portrait of a figure, no background, I want to do something to complement the piece I did earlier with Wonder Woman, and Starfire is another favorite of mine from DC, and in particular the way she was designed by George Perez, the way she appeared for, I want to say, the first 20 years of her existence before she was changed by a cartoon version that kind of took away a lot of the alluring qualities to her that were in her initial DNA. So there's a very distinctive face, hairstyle, and vibe from her when she was first created in 1980, and I wanted to connect with that.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time again for another Word Balloon Live. John Suntress here. We are on the clock because this guy is in full promotion mode, and I appreciate that. Brad Meltzer, welcome back to Word Balloon.
So good to see you.
Likewise, buddy, and congratulations today. It just dropped, and I got to scroll down to get the cover. There it is. I Am Oprah Winfrey. Boom.
Oh, I like how you did. I was going to say I was going to hold it up, but you already got it.
I got a couple images from the book. We gotta show some love to Chris Eliopoulos.
Chris Eliopoulos needs the love, man.
Fine illustrations, absolutely. Here's some wide shots, completely covering us. Boom. Just like the studio, man. You know, of course, Harpo Productions, long time here in Chicago, and I love some of this art right here and everything. So, what did you?
Wait, you're missing. Wait a minute. Come on.
Oh.
This is the one place I can show this one page that where people will actually know what I'm talking about.
All right.
Look what Chris put. If you want to see what good nerds do, look what book. There's a page where Oprah talks about how when she's little, she reads, right? Okay. So we always put, we hide kind of Superman in every book.
Sure.
And we also hide who the next hero is that's coming up. That's always the big deal. So you have to find who the next hero is. You look in I'm Amelia Earhart, you can find a little thing of Abraham Lincoln. You look in I'm Abraham Lincoln, you'll see Rosa Parks. And then we always hide Superman. Look what this guy puts in here.
Is that Superman versus Ali? What is that?
That is Superman versus Muhammad Ali in I Am Oprah Winfrey. It's, by the way, the deepest grade cut that we hid in there. I think completely historically accurate, by the way.
It would be historically accurate. That's fantastic, man. Good Lord. That's amazing. All right. So what did you learn about Oprah Winfrey? Because I always love these little kid tidbits that a kid will hook into about who they're reading about and everything. So, yeah, give me some of the...
yeah, I mean, for us, the series was always about giving our kids better heroes themselves, right? It's about giving them heroes of kindness and compassion and character. That thing we just don't seem to have anymore in America is character. And then we always look at our own kids. And I looked at my kids. I was telling you actually off the air, my kids are anxious. They're just anxious. All of our kids are anxious. They look at us as parents and they feed off our anxiousness. We're in this age of anxiety. And so I knew we wanted to do a hero that could teach them self-love and acceptance of who you are. And what I love about Oprah Winfrey is that when she was little, she despised how she looked so badly that she used to go to bed with a clothespin on her nose. She thought her nose was too wide, to shrink her nose in size. She gets a little older, and her production company, the people in her studio tell her that her body's the wrong size, that her hair's the wrong way, that her skin's too dark. And that local newscast that she does a story. They say she cares too much about people. And she has a story that she covers where these family has their house burned down. Oprah goes back the next day off the air and privately brings them blankets. They got nothing left. Their house burned down. And the head of the, place where she's working, the news place, says, "What are you doing? You can't get involved in the story." And she's like, "The story? what about being a good human being? And I want my daughter to know, and I want my sons to know that Oprah spends her whole life being told that your body's the wrong shape, that you care too much about people. There's no such thing. The only thing you ever have to be is you. It's the greatest gift you give yourself. And I need my kids to have that lesson. Truthfully, John, I need that lesson. And for me, the title of the book has always been Ordinary People Change the World. But my struggle is always, the caveat to that is that comes with it is if you accept yourself for who you are. And to me, that's the key part. And that's what I struggle with all the time, kind of always chasing that next thing. And, I spent so many years doing that and getting caught up in it and finally just saying, you know what, accept yourself for who you are, like the things you like. And so this one actually was a vital one, not just for my kids, but even for me.
Sometimes we got to remember and really go through the laundry list of the great accomplishments that Oprah has done over the years. And again, truly just the ridiculous philanthropy that she does. And it really is, just life-changing.
It's great. She is, I didn't know this about her, because obviously everyone knows Oprah and they know her big interviews, and you got Prince Harry and she does Meghan in the interview and she makes some news, but, she spends her money. She's the greatest Black philanthropist in history. And most of her donations, they said, are made anonymously. So we don't even know who they go to. Like, that's a good person. And the other thing for me, a little like silly aside, but when I was 13 years old, every family has like that relative that they're not really your uncle or aunt, but you call them uncle or aunt. They're like close enough family friend that they kind of cross over into family.
Yeah.
And mine was Aunt Joan. Grew up with Aunt Joan. I mean, I took pictures, they're like, you take like camp photos with like your sister and your brother. I took them with like Joan's kids. Like it was one family. Always know Aunt Joan, Aunt Joan, Aunt Joan. When I'm 13 years old, my mother, to this day, I don't know why, has a huge falling out with Joan. I mean, they become like bitter enemies. I don't know why. And 20 years go by. My sister's now getting married. And the phone rings in our house. And my mom picks up the phone and says, hello. And the woman says, hey, Terry, it's me. And she says, who's this? She recognized the voice. She said, it's Joni. It's me.
Wow.
And she's like, why'd you call me after 20 years? And Joan says to her, I was watching Oprah. And Oprah said, and this is pre-Facebook. This is obviously, 20 years ago. She said, you got to reach, everyone has someone in their life, their old best friend from when they were little and they lose touch, or someone you lose touch with for whatever reason, like go track them down and find them. And so I wanted to reach out to you. And here's the part of the story you can't make up. So my mom invites Joan and says, come to my daughter's wedding. I know it's late, but come, it's going to be soon. She races down to Florida. They reconnect, they get connected. But the part you can't make up is soon after that, Joan dies. And soon after that, right following her, my mom dies. And again, we always give credit to Oprah for those big interviews, but those were the once a month things. Every day, what she was doing is just putting on regular people. There you go. Like just putting on people who could say, you're good with that. Like that happened to me. That's me. That's my story. That's not just you. That's me. Me too. And me and me and me. And that was the power of Oprah Winfrey, is making people for the first time through a television of all things feel like they weren't alone. And again, we all need a little bit of that reminder today when we're all so isolated.
Agreed. And that's why I grabbed that page. It's absolutely true. And I mean, and in fact, even you promoting the book and everything, you get a car, you get a car. Yeah, man, we know all the catchphrases and stuff, or Tom Cruise jumping on the couch and stuff back in the day. But truly, it is the amazing, great things and the little things, as you say, that people related to. And truly, I mean, God, again, being in Chicago, we were her second city stop before going national. She hosted what was called AM Chicago for years before they made it the Oprah Winfrey Show, and then it went national. And
yeah, really, no, I remember knowing her from Chicago. She was like, that was the thing. You knew Chicago and Oprah were synonymous. And of course, I should have known that you knew her and hung out with her.
Oh, no. We never hung out.
No, I can say that. That's fine. No one's going to check.
I did get to know a bit one of her main producers, and because we were both in broadcasting, so we just kind of swapped stories. And also several people that I've worked with over the years went to work for Harpo and her XM Sirius channel.
Yeah, the Harpo people were amazing, and Oprah let us have like childhood pictures so Chris could have references, and they gave us pictures for the book and told us stuff that you were like, oh my gosh, no one would know this kind of detail, like something from her childhood that is not in any of the books or anything you could research. So that was obviously nice to have them help us out with the book too.
That's awesome, man. Here, let's give a money shot of Chris. Boom.
He loves that shot. I love that shot of him. You know, Chris, what's so great is no matter how great Chris's author photo is, he hates it. And I'm like, you understand that you're in charge of your author photo. Like that, it's your job like that. So yes, he'll be miserable that you put that up. It's great.
Well, that's too bad because I think he looks fantastic, man.
And he's a handsome guy.
He's a good looking man. Absolutely. But truly, man, this is fantastic. Now, and again, it's out today. How many? All right, now give me the number, Brad. How many of these books?
I know it's pretty crazy. So I think we did the very first books on your show, and we started with I Am Amelia Earhart and I Am Abraham Lincoln. We're 1 and 2. This is now book number 25.
That's awesome.
And you should have seen Chris and I had this. We had an interview today with our publisher. A book signing, like a virtual book event. And we knew that we saw in the chat that our editor was listening. So we were like, the 25th anniversary, you got to send us presents now, because we totally knew they were on. And so we were just like kind of milking the crowd to say like, what's the 25th anniversary? Is it gold or is it? And then someone's like, it's silver. I'm like, I think it's a car. I think it's the one you have to buy them a car. But it's 25 books. And, and the thing is the book series for us has become this gift that we never realized we were giving ourselves. Like we just did it because we were like, we want something for our kids. But to watch with 25 books, now we have people who, build full libraries. And we had, I think I told you this one, it was pretty amazing. When the 2016 election approached, 2 of our books started selling more than any others. And they were I Am Martin Luther King Jr. and I Am George Washington. So every day as Hillary and Donald Trump were going at each other, screaming at each other on TV, 2 of those books start selling. And it wasn't a Democrat or Republican thing. It was just that parents and grandparents on both sides were tired of turning on the TV and seeing politicians. And what they wanted to see were leaders. And we all know there's a huge difference between a politician and a leader. And I love the fact that people now use our books, whether it's I Am Jim Henson or I Am Walt Disney or, I Am Leonardo da Vinci or Rosa Parks, and use them to build libraries and fight back against the cynicism in America and build these libraries for their kids and their grandkids, their nieces, their nephews. Like, I love that people now don't just say, okay, I'm just going to cherry pick this one and this one, but like, we're going to give you a library and you're going to have a whole thing of good people to look up to. And that is what I don't think we ever anticipated. We were just like, we like Amelia Earhart, we like Abraham Lincoln. Here's 2 books. But yeah, watching number 25, it's pretty humbling, actually.
That's great, man. And I remember as a little kid in grade school that there would be that kind of set of reader books and everything. And yeah, that's beautiful that you could have maybe in a 3rd grade reading class. I
actually will say, someone just sent me remember the Scholastic Book Forums, those little like weekly reader things? Someone just sent us that we were in the weekly reader, and I don't care what show I go on. I don't care how many books they ever sell, whatever the final number is. Being in the friggin' weekly reader in the Scholastic book thing is just the coolest ass thing to me. Like, I love that, man. I remember that feeling back when you'd be like, my parents said I could pick one. You pick that one, and the teacher comes in that day and like delivers you, here's the book. And that was just the best to me. And so again, that is like the highest, compliment you can get, is being in that little weekly reader.
That's beautiful, man. No, and I hear you. And again, I remember that thrill as well, ordering books from the weekly reader. And you're building readers with these stories, man. And it helps having Chris's beautiful art.
Listen, Chris is the secret weapon. Let's be honest, right? He's the secret weapon. That page, he cursed me out for so badly. I literally was right, because I wrote that in the script, and I was like, anyone who works with me in comics, like, I really get crazy about layout and things. I'm like, I want 500 TV shows, and he's like, what? I'm like, I'm telling you the whole thing. He's like cursing me as he would send me as he was doing it. But he's the secret weapon, right? Because we all want our kids off their devices, right? I want my kids off their screens, but the only way you can do it is if they give them something better. And Chris's art is just so full of heart, and so you fall in love with the character, and then now you got him. So we obviously could not do this without him.
Excellent. Franco checking in.
Franco.
There we go. I'm going to see him.
I love Franco.
He's a man. I'm going to see him.
I should show Franco on my kid's wall downstairs. We have the 3 pages of the art that I wrote is still on his wall, still to this moment, Franco.
That's beautiful, man. And he of course, he's acknowledging Chris's beautiful work as well. So that's cool. Zach has a nice comment, man. He goes, I love the I Am books. I bought a bunch for my kids to read. I also got my mother-in-law. You hooked on your novels. She loves the Lincoln Conspiracy.
Oh, Zach, man, I love. See, this is why, and I say because I am one. Like comic book readers are the best. Like I was just telling my son downstairs. We were reading some comics over the weekend, and he's just gotten to that point where I can give him the better stuff now. But like we are loyal. Like I remember reading Sandman and then being like, okay, Gaiman's making a jump to novel. I'm going to do that. Like, and now it's so obvious and everyone knows it. But like, you're just anyone who entertained me when I was growing up, I supported them. And I love Zach. I love that you're like, I'm getting the family. I'm getting the mom. I'm getting the mother-in-law. I'm getting the mother-in-law I don't even like. I'm getting everybody. And I love when people come to our events and they're like, you know what? I bought these for my kids. I read this myself. My, spouse watches you on History Channel or something. And it's just, I know it's so silly, but it just feels like such a family affair. And, when I started writing, I didn't have kids. And so many people, that have been with me a long time, they didn't have kids either. And then I got married and they got married, and I wrote about married people. And then I had kids and they had kids. And I feel like we've had this shared experience together. And I got to say, like, I love people like Zach who have been so supportive, whatever different genre we jump to.
Well, you might remember, I don't know if you remember, but you were in Chicago for a book signing. And prior to the signing, I was at my sister's. And I happened to see that she had a paperback on her nightstand, and it was one of your books. And I'm like, hey, that's my friend. She's like, come on. I'm like, no, really. I'm like, he's got a book signing coming up. We went. You were great. You came up. And it was so adorable because he got up. You gave me a nice hug because we were friends. And it was so funny. So we're driving back, and she's like, my God, he really is your friend. And I'm like, yeah. But again, like you say, I mean, she came to you through the novels. I came to you.
Right. I mean, we get people all, but again, I remember there was a guy in Vero Beach who was, I'll never forget it. He comes to the Vero Beach signing. He basically takes the new hardcover Thriller or whatever, I forget which book it was. And he says, I don't even read fiction, but thanks for writing Identity Crisis or Justice League. He's like, and I'm buying it. Like he literally was like going to balance his couch with it, but he was just like, I don't care. He's like, when you sign my comic, I'm like, I'll sign your comics. You don't have to buy anything. You never have to buy anything. You come to my events. He's like, I don't care. I'm going to buy. And every person that comes in just brings a stack of comics. They always buy a novel. They're like, I just want to support you. Thank you for doing it. I know you don't charge for signatures. Like, thank you back. And that is just, we have this thing called the Invisible Army. I know you know this, John, where it's like all the people that sign up for our mailing list is the Invisible Army. And I always say, I know every writer has that kind of group of people who support them. None of them are nicer than the people who support us. No one has nicer people and nicer readers. We did a thing for the Invisible Army when you joined. This was a couple of years ago, where when you join the mailing list through our website, you got, I think they still send it to you. They give you an Invisible Army membership card. And at one point when we first did the cards, it came with something. I don't think it still does, but it said, although try it out, maybe it does. It said, this will give you a free cut the line past the next event. Events have been so long away that I can't remember anymore. Middle ages hit. But it said you can skip the line. So I do this like cross-country tour of like crazy numbers. And I'm telling you, John, 90% of the people, when they would get to the front, at the very end of the line, they're like, I signed the books, whatever. And then they go, hey, by the way, here's the card, just to show me like, hey, I'm in the Invisible Army. And I'm like, why didn't you cut the line? You just waited like an hour and a half in line. And they're like, yeah, but I didn't want to do that to anybody. Over and over and over again. And that's just a sign of a nice person, right? They can cut. They're free to cut. I go to the bookstore and I say, listen, there's going to be people who show you a card. Let them cut. Let them cut. As long as they got the card. And yes, Zach has his Invisible Army card, right? Zach, does it still say, we need to know, does it still say I guess yours when you got it, do you know if it still says you can skip the line, or did that come when you got the card? I don't remember. Zach's going to answer us. We're going to have right here. And I'm telling you, I bet you Zach did not cut the line with it because he's a good person. It Absolutely. Is. I'm telling you. And people, I'm telling you, 90% of the people were like, yeah, I could cut the line, but I'm not going to. And it's just, I think it's, it's a testament to Chris. We've been so lucky to be surrounded by nice people. We try to obviously put some good in the universe, but it's just so nice when that comes back to you.
I'm not surprised though, Brad, because truly you're always about positivity and really sharing great stories, and you appreciate your fans, and you always have.
I mean, listen, my first fan letter I ever got was Shelley Dane. She wrote it to me. I still am in touch with it. It's like 24 years ago. I'm still in touch with her. She invited me to her wedding because she was my first fan letter ever. I'm still in touch with her when she gets, again, these people have been there since the start of my career. How do you not take the time to remember who they are?
That's terrific, man. I'm writing Zach so he understands. It's like, I'm saying, does the card say you can cut the line?
Wait, I have a card on me. I'm going to look and see what it says. Hold
That's
on, I
so
got
funny.
one. I'm going to show you. Here, I'm going to show you what the card is. Although this one's worn out. Damn. This one says, here it says, a charter member of the Invisible Army. It says, is entitled to entry into the ultra secret headquarters. Use of all secret decoder devices, which we did do secret decoder devices, and knowledge over all top. Oh man, there is some good stuff on here. I forgot we did this. There's some good stuff on here. I'm not saying anything else. Join the Invisible Army. It's good.
There you go.
The card is good. I stand by the card. The card is a rock 'em sock 'em. I always keep one on me because there was one time I came to an event and one little kid whose parents clearly got it for him was like, I lost my card. And I always carry the card on me in case there's some little kid.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That's literally why I carry it. I don't really carry my own Invisible Army card, but I keep it for that one kid because on that day I didn't have it. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I'll mail you another one.
There you go. Zach
says it came in the letter. That's right. Not on the card. That's right. It came with the letter. So
nice. That's excellent. Can I quick tangent because you're talking about your newsletter and everything. Has Substack crossed your path? Did they ever come to you? Because I
can't say, but I know obviously what they're doing and cheering for them and stay tuned. I mean, I'm not make no plans or don't read into it too much, but yeah, I mean, obviously, they're making a play for it right now, right? They're making the play for that big group. I mean, we've been pretty. I'm not doing anything with them in terms of our bigger group of things. I like the connection we have with them. But obviously, I'm watching too, even as a creator and as a fan, to see what they're doing.
Understood. Absolutely. Now, you mentioned Rosa Parks, and I really am curious because I saw the news story a couple of months ago. I don't want to get it wrong, but essentially, I Am Rosa Parks got pulled from curriculum or
yes.
something.
Look at that. Look at that subversive art on the cover. Look at that.
Shame on you.
I mean, right? So this is 2 weeks ago this happens. 2.5 weeks ago. I'm on Twitter or Instagram, I forget where, and someone writes to me and says, Rosa Parks, the I Am Rosa Parks book got banned. No, it didn't. I'm like, that's a mistake. It's had to be another Rosa Parks book. And sure enough, it did. A school board in York County, Pennsylvania, made a list of about 150, 200 books that were good for teaching kids about race and how to talk about race and diversity issues. And what they did is they said, listen, on this list, had nothing to do with the content of the book, but it was like our book, our I Am Martin Luther King Jr. book, a book by Malala, a Sesame Street book about race, clearly very subversive things when you're banning, Ernie and Bert. And what they were doing was they were saying, listen, we just want to read these books before we give them to kids. We want to vet them first, make sure the books are appropriate, which to me is actually a good thing. You don't just give out books like you want to read them first. But the fast one that they were pulling that was a year ago. A year went by, 11 and a half months, and they never read any of the books. And these are books, this book has 34 pages in it, right? You can read it in 10 minutes.
Yeah.
All the books are like little kids' books, not like reading 150 novels.
Yeah.
And what they did was now the librarians didn't know whether they could use them. The school teachers didn't know if they could use them. Are we supposed to use them? Are we not? And what became a freeze turned into a ban because no one knows what to do with it. So I get word about it. I team up I find these two local amazing activists, JJ and Hannah Shipley, JJ Sheffer and Hannah Shipley, and they run the Little Free Libraries in York County in the area. And they said, we're making lists for people to buy the books. We're going to, try and get a couple copies. And I'm like, I'm going to get you more than a couple copies. I said, instead of asking one of everything, up your numbers, watch what we're going to do. And I said, just 5,000 something kids in York County, I'm going to get a book for every one of them. And I went on my social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I said to everyone, go buy the books on this list, please. Don't just buy Chris and our books, buy every book on this list. And within days, they start pouring in. Thousands of books start pouring in from me. I mean, Dr. King's daughter tweeted out and was like, look at this book that they banned. It was, Chris and our I Am Martin Luther King Jr. book. Yes. So people, of course, start doing it. Rex Chapman and, amazing people. I know you helped retweet and everyone was just putting it out there. But they have on 2 weeks ago on Monday, 3 weeks ago, maybe, they finally have a school board meeting to deal with the issue. And someone said, we'd like you to come and speak. So of course I go to speak there. I wouldn't miss it for the world. Chris and I both go via Zoom to this school board meeting. And the first, I read from I Am Rosa Parks. I read this at the end of the book, which says, I'm not a famous business person. I'm not some famous scientist. I'm just an ordinary person. But I'm also proof there's no such thing as an ordinary person. And I just want to show them what they've actually kept kids from getting, right? This is what you're denying the children. This is the sweetness of it. And I think I've done it. I've yet again saved the day. Isn't that terrific? And then the truth is all the students start speaking after me. These 16 and 17-year-olds who follow me, who are talking about, how dare you do this? These are books that look like people that look like me. How these are fantastic books, and how dare you make sure that we can't have them and younger kids can't have them. And I'm sitting on that Zoom and I'm like, why did I even buy? I mean, I was the most unnecessary thing there. These kids were spectacular stars, so much so by the end of that meeting, when it was all done, I went on Fox News and I went on CNN, both called me. Fox News and CNN called me and said, you got to talk about this on the air.
Yeah.
When Fox News and CNN agree, you screwed up, right? So we were able to do some public shaming to them for that. You screwed up. But these kids, when they're done, the school board right there took another vote. They voted to release the freeze, stop the ban. And yes, John, it's like a little victory for democracy that day. But the truth is,
hey, we need them, man.
And we do need them. But the thing is, you're going to see more of that. You're going to see more of it. Why? Because it's working right now.
Brad, I am so with you on that. And truly, it's getting really, the pot is already boiled over in terms of, okay, enough. Can we all just take a breath? Am I right on your Fox thing? Were you on with Brian Kilmeade?
I was.
I thought
I was on with Brian. And listen, he was full credit to Brian. He was not having that either. He was like, this is nonsense. How do you ban Rosa? The only thing the school board did that they screwed up so badly is it had nothing to do with me or Chris. It was they picked on Rosa Parks and Dr. King. And everyone's like, everyone's all in for the book ban when it's a book you don't like or if it's written by a black person. But like the moment it was Dr. King and Rosa Parks, I went, whoa, stop the book burning. And they just screwed up. That was it. They made a mistake by not checking the list and saying, is there anything on here we shouldn't be doing? And, but it's going to keep happening because it's working. It's working. And, there's a certain group of people that when someone says, they're indoctrinating your children, get terrified. And listen for that word. And as the election approaches, the midterms approach, listen to that word, indoctrination.
Yep.
It's the same word they use to target the black community, the gay community, the Jewish community, the immigrant community, the Muslim community. You pick who the other is, and it's used to target and spread fear. And if you say to someone, you want them to indoctrinate your children? No. You want them to be able to talk about race so we can understand each other a little better? Well, sure. It's the same question. It's just, whether you're going to use the things that make people get to be terrified or not. And sadly, it's working. And that's why you're going to keep hearing it over and over.
There you go, man. You lived a little Frank Capra movie there. That's fantastic that the community stood up with you. And it's like,
they were awesome.
Nothing wrong with this. So how dare you? And yeah, man, no, I'm so with you. All right, we'll lighten things up again. And now the great Dolly Parton. That's awesome. Seriously, man. I'll admit, as a little kid, I wasn't a big Dolly fan. Ever since 9 to 5, I'm like, she's funny. And then, she's interesting. And good Lord, the last 20 years or so of her career, it's like, shame on
she's
me.
A killer, man. She's the best. I mean, the thing that's been great. So obviously we're doing, as you can tell on there, Dolly Parton's coming out next year. I think around this time will be I Am Dolly Parton.
Okay.
Along with I Am Pay we're doing, which got deleted.
Oh, hey, awesome.
Wait. I happen to have it here.
Please. Good.
Wait, you got to see. So we did it. Everyone wanted to know our first, everyone's like, the number one request was kids who were like, you did a white hero, you did a black hero, you did a Hispanic hero, you did a Native American, you did where is the Asian American hero? So I Am Pay is coming, but if we're going to do a book about an architect who makes you look at the world differently, you better believe, baby, when we do the Louvre, first pop-up.
Hilarious. Fantastic.
Oh, yeah. That's just
beautiful.
Badass.
Wow.
And so while everyone was sweating in the pandemic, as the pandemic was first hitting, Chris and Jason Henry, our amazing designer, were trying to figure out how do you make a four-sided triangle that pops out of a book. And they were, every day back and forth. And I'm going, yeah, we don't just want the Louvre. Can we get the things around it too? Because first we're going to just do the pyramid. Anyway, it was so much fun to work on. So he comes out with I Am Dolly Parton. And then we have in February, we have I Am Muhammad Ali and I Am
Oh yeah.
Malala, because I was just tired of people picking on Muslims, man. I hate bullies. I hate bullies. And I thought Muhammad Ali and Malala were the perfect way to teach kids how to fight back. And so you'll
Attaboy.
see that. And then we do in March is the new thriller. The Lightning Rod is coming. So that's the new thriller, first thriller in like almost 4 years, which is pretty crazy too.
Wow, has it been that long for a fiction for you?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what can you tell us about the Lightning Rod?
So the Lightning Rod is picks up after the Escape Artist, and the Lightning Rod is, of course, a person. Nola Brown is the Lightning Rod. She strikes like a mother, man. She strikes hard, and you'll see. I don't want to read it. It has one of my favorite first chapters I've ever done. I'm not going to read it yet, but you'll see it's truly picks up with this character that I love, and people are like, oh, she's like your girl with the dragon tattoo, which is not fair to the girl with the dragon tattoo or anyone else that comes after it. But I love this character and writing her, and it takes place again with Zig and Nola. Zig works at Dover Air Force Base and helps put bodies back together when our fallen soldiers have given their lives. And we'll spend 12 hours rewiring someone's jaw and smoothing it over with clay because the family wants to see their son one last time, or rebuilding someone's hand from scratch because a mother wants to hold her son's hand one last time. And heroes like that are few and far between, but I love that character. And then Nola, I can tell you this about her is since World War I, the U.S. Army has had an actual painter on staff who paints disasters as they happen. Whether it's the beaches of Normandy, whether it's Vietnam, whether it's 9/11, we've had a painter on staff. And I said to them, you're telling me that while everyone else is racing in with guns blazing into disasters, you've got someone racing in with just nothing but paintbrushes in their pocket? I'm like, I got to meet that guy. That sounds like the craziest guy in the world. And I said, I got to meet him. And they said, you mean her? You got to meet her. And that's the Lightning Rod. That's Nola Brown. And
That's
she is.
Yeah. Are you that's the series you're co-writing, correct?
So no, that's my series. Nope, that's the one I do all myself. Yep.
Okay.
Excellent. Yeah, so that's the new one that comes out. It's the first book I've done for fiction since The Escape Artist, which is, we did the Lincoln Conspiracy, we did the first conspiracy, and we did a lot of other books in between with our friend Josh Mensch, but this is the one that I've been working on the whole time as everything else went.
Understood, man. I was typing to let people know if they have questions to pop in.
Yeah.
Because again, we're on a tight schedule. I do want to also acknowledge Xavier Riddle. And, obviously great things happen.
First of all, so let me tell you, Xavier is the middle guy, his sister Yadina, and their best friend Brad with the cape, the most handsome cartoon character of all time. Yes. Check him out. Looks so familiar.
There he is. Yeah, here's a great little Peanuts moment there. Absolutely.
Yeah, no, and obviously Chris's art is killing it on PBS, and I love where obviously it's our kids' books taken into cartoon form on PBS, and they have a secret museum. They have a problem, like they're being bullied. They go back in time. They meet Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks teaches them how to deal with the bully. They come back to the present day, and we get to do, because there's so many more episodes. We've done, Zora Neale Hurston, the characters you never see on television. I love that there's like, Zora Neale Hurston or Cesar Chavez, or like, we obviously have Neil Armstrong, and we do, Amelia Earhart, but we've done like so many good. We do Harry Houdini. Like, kids don't know who any of these people are. They don't even know who Amelia Earhart is. But I love that, like, they just accept them all. Kate Warren, America's first female private eye, we did on there. I mean, so we've had a lot of fun working.
But again, both the books and the cartoon, this is what's great, because truly, Brad, and you actually have like a built-in focus group with your children and your children's friends. I am so worried about children's knowledge of history, and that they don't have a way to connect, because ancient history to them, if they know anything beyond their lifespan, that is a challenge. And I'm even seeing that with millennials and the generation Y and Z as well, where that was before I was born, and there is kind of this kind of built-in, like, why would I know this thing? And thank God you are making these books and cartoons, because I like magic. Maybe I want to learn about this Harry Houdini. Who was he? I
always say, like, there's some. Remember, I think it was Stan Lee who said, I think it was him who said that every comic book is someone's first, and we apply that to, like, there may be most kids may be like, I don't care about Harry Houdini, but for that one kid out there, it's the most important episode we do. They may not care about Zora Neale Hurston, but for some kid out there, that's going to be the most important episode we do. And to me, every episode is potentially the most important episode we do. And I may fly by you, but I'm telling you, I could see it. I remember when our friend Brian Bendis, I remember, one of the things he wrote when he created Miles Morales, it really, really struck me when we were doing our books, is he said he kept getting letters from people that said, I just want to thank you, because when I was little and I used to play Spider-Man and we used to play superheroes, Spider-Man was the only hero who I could be because my skin was dark. And I couldn't be Superman because you could see him. Batman, you could see his mouth. Captain America could see his jaw. Yeah. But you couldn't see Spider-Man's skin, so I could be him. And now suddenly here's a Spider-Man like me. And I don't think we ever realize just how vital it is for a kid to see themselves. Why it's so important for us to be like, listen, do I think I Am Pei is going to sell like, Walt Disney? No, I don't care. Like, I may be extra safe when it comes to the other books I do, but Chris and I, it's our most fearless spot is we do not care. We're like, let's do someone can look at themselves and say, that could be me. And I love the fact that we get to do that with these books and just to say like, you know what, it doesn't matter if we sell it or not.
Absolutely. Here, Sergio's got a question. I know the answer, but I'll let you answer.
Okay.
He wants to know if you'll ever get back to writing comics.
Sergio, man, give us a little time. I can't say, but give us a little time. Some news, there's some fun stuff coming.
Oh, great. That's great to hear, Brad, because I know, too, given that this is illustrated biographies and stuff that you and Chris feel like in a lot of ways, these books are kind of...
Listen, I think all of these are comics. I write them as comics. I write them panel 1, panel 2, panel 3, just like I write a comic. But what I'm working on in comics will be a little bit of a twist than you're used to, but I think you're going to like it.
Yeah.
I mean, look at that, right? I mean, I literally was like, I wrote that as that's a double page spread in a comic book to me. And they all are. They all are, right? I mean, and that's the thing is everyone's like, oh, your children's books. I'm like, you can call them whatever you want to call them. It's just because they're hardback that people say that they're, children's books, but it's a comic. It's just a square format.
But we all know too, again, and you've already displayed this in this conversation, and you always do. You love comics, and we love when you write comics, obviously, and you've got your point of view that always comes through. Your Justice League run, your great stuff on Buffy, Green Arrow, of course. I mean, a ton of stories. And it's fun
watching my son. I've been reading comics with him now, and I haven't, my oldest was never, he got into some of them, he reads some of them, but my youngest is like, I really can kind of go into it now and be like, you're ready for this, and I gave him, the simple, obvious stuff like Dark Knight, but I remember even just giving him Court of Owls because he was just, like, what's that? And he was just like, oh, Court of Owls is cool. I'm like, I know. And I love that my kid has good taste, so he like reads something and he's like, man, Killing Joke is good. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, you know what happens at the end? And he's like, oh, does Batman kill him? I'm like, did you know that or did you read that online? Like, I didn't know that for 20 years until, someone, finally said it. And I was like, I love that my kid is like, I'm like, you have good taste. You know what you're doing here. So that's super fun for me as a reader.
That's outstanding. All right. Now, with your love of Superman, did you watch Superman Lois, the CW show?
I have. It's funny. I only watch those shows with my son. And so they're all taped. I have like literally all of the first season taped, but he was really into Stargirl.
That's great.
Stargirl it was funny. I told Jeff this. He wouldn't watch Stargirl forever because I think he was like Stargirl and it seemed like a girl show and he's whatever. He's a boy and he doesn't need to do it. And Jeff is his favorite writer. He loves.
Oh, that's great.
So we were in California over the summer and Jeff was so sweet, came and came to meet my kid. And I never saw my kid starstruck. He was literally like starstruck. And Jeff was like, come on, man, you got to watch Stargirl. And he's like, so my kid was like, screw everything else. I'm just watching Stargirl. So he's been just on a Stargirl.
That's outstanding. And the last thing I was expecting, even though it was Stargirl, was a Justice Society and Infinity Inc.
Well, that's the thing is that's what got him. In fact, and I was telling my kid is Infinity, as you see like all this stuff coming, I said to my son, I said, and he can't appreciate it. It was lost in him. I'm like, there's this thing that used to be called the letters column. And the letters column, because he doesn't see it, he reads everything digitally. And like, he just, when you get to the last page, even though there's sometimes in there in Marvel, I don't even think, maybe they're in there. And maybe some things are, but the letters aren't anymore. Marvel still has letters, but DC doesn't have letters. And I said my first printed letter was an Infinity Incorporated, I think number 4 or whatever. It was a response to issue 1 of Infinity Inc.
That's awesome.
And I'm explaining to even my kids like, dude, Dad, you're just a nerd, man. I can't help you anymore.
But it is so great to see writers and artists when they were kids writing letters to the
Oh,
comics.
my letter about Infinity Inc. It said, like, dear whatever to the editors of Infinity Inc. It said, I love Infinity Incorporated #1. And this is a quote. It says, because I love the way your characters are portrayed so realistically. I'm like 12 years old when that book comes out, or 14 years old. Characters are portrayed so realistically, and that's all I love, right? There's no difference in what I try to do and aspire to do now as a comic book writer than try to give you, like, I never can do the big space opera or the crazy ass thing is going to come down and get us. It's always that grounded version of the heroes that like always appeals to me because I want it to be real. It's my need to feel that this is all real and can happen. And I'm like that since birth. Like I'm like that as a kid. I'm like that at 13 when whatever comics you're reading at 13 become your favorite. Like I'm forever like that.
I hear you, man. You know, it would be great to take one of your comics, and the one that immediately comes to mind would be the Justice League issue where, was it Roy and Vixen that were in the dark?
It was, yeah. Gene
Haas. And yes, Gene Haas art, absolutely. But I don't know, during the pandemic, I've been doing these online shows, and I had a couple times where we've done table reads of great comics, and we did one with Kingdom Come where it was Wade and Susan Eisenberg, who played Wonder Woman, and George Newbern. And they did all the Wonder Woman Superman scenes. And then I just did Terrificon in Connecticut earlier this summer. And I had Maria, who played Hawkgirl, and George. And I couldn't find any great scenes from the cartoons. So I went to Wade, and I'm like, there's got to be a Hawkgirl Superman story that's not coming to mind. Within an hour, he's like, yeah, DC Presents number 40.
I was going to say, it has to be DC Comics Presents for sure.
And he's like, here's a PDF. And it was so great. And so I had them do it, and they loved it. They had a ball.
It's great, man. You could definitely do a JLA 11, man, because it's just Vixen and Red Arrow underneath the water the whole time. It's good stuff.
Absolutely. Oh, Zach wants to know here. I know you're a U of M alum. I know the pandemic makes things difficult, but any plans to make your way back to Michigan for a signing? You wrote my favorite Crisis book, by the way. There you go.
No, thank you, Zach. So the sad part was, I was about to say this to you, John, off the air. I was supposed to be in Michigan this coming weekend, and we literally canceled today just because of long story, but we're having a family event next weekend, the weekend after, and we were like, we can't go up there and then risk messing up this family event because of COVID. So that was going to be my trip to Michigan. But I will tell you, Zach, that in March, I will be back on tour, and the tour is supposed to be, as long as the publisher will let me out and about. I don't know if Michigan's on there yet, but if we get close, please come say hello.
Well, and I certainly hope Chicago will be on there.
I hope Chicago will be on there. And Ohio may be on there. I always want to go to Michigan, but the truth is that so many of the Michigan bookstores that they used to send me to have just closed. They used to send me, the Borders closed, the Barnes & Noble closed. They just closed. And I tend to tour when campus is not in, so they never want to send me to Ann Arbor, which bums me out because that's the only place I really want to go.
I understand. I know all you U of M guys, man. I love that whole thing, and I also just love how Jeff very, very quietly just and all the CW people have made the JLA Detroit so important.
I know, it kills me, Jeff, because he's a Michigan State guy and I'm a Michigan guy,
That's
so we
true.
always have an annual bet on the Michigan State game. I think we're probably about even, though he freaking won that one at the last second when we had that botched kick. It was such a disaster, and I knew that was his favorite one.
That's hilarious. So yeah, was it just you and Winnick as far as comic vets that you guys were contemporaries, or
you know what? And Ben Rabb was there when we were there too.
Ben Rabb, absolutely.
Yeah, so Ben and we were all friends back then, even back then. And there was the place they used to go was Dave's Comics, was the big comic book store that's there. I know obviously Vault of Midnight's there now. It's a great store, but back then it was Dave's Comics. And the truth was, you kind of knew everyone that. Or maybe I didn't know everyone, but you knew the people that were like your age. There were obviously always people living around campus who were younger and people who were older and they feel like grad students. But Judd was my roommate, and Ben, we just always knew because he liked comics. And in fact, when Ben got his first job at Marvel, I remember I was in New York, and Ben was like, I'm working at Marvel, you got to come here. And I went because he was like an assistant editor, and I went to the Marvel headquarters, and he took me on a tour. It was like dark at night, and it wasn't even like come during the day. Like I can't pull it off during the day. Like everyone was gone, and I remember he like gave me like I don't know if it was a free comic or showed me something, whatever it was he did. It was like, and I remember thinking it was the greatest thing in the whole world, like the single greatest thing. Meanwhile, I just went back. I took my son pre-pandemic, so a year and a half ago. And Ryan, is the sweetest guy in the whole world. Those guys are so amazing. Agent M himself took my son around. And now I'm like, here I am with my dad and my son who's loving the comics. And they make a swag bag for this kid. You think he won the friggin' Oscars. And I'm like, you can't give my kid that. You can't give him all this stuff. Like, it's like giving him a cameo in a friggin' Avengers movie. I'm like, don't give him all these things because he'll be spoiled like a mother. And they were so nice. And I was so happy with like, an eraser on the pencil that said Marvel on it. I was like, we've won. We've made it. But yeah, they Ben and I were good friends, and Judd as well. We're all good friends together.
That's awesome, Brett. All right, I know we're tight for time, so let me go through the list again. It's out now, everybody. I Am Oprah Winfrey. Beautiful art from Chris Iliopoulos, as always. Coming soon, I Am Dolly Parton. When is that coming out?
Dolly Parton comes in June, I think. June or September of 2022.
Okay, well, before that...
wait, I'm going to show you. You have them? You have them.
Here we go. Zoom
in. I'm going to show you because whatever, we're here.
No, you're awesome.
Okay, you ready? Here we go. We'll do it old school. So then we have Malala.
Nice.
Then we have Muhammad Ali, which I love. And you better believe we do Superman versus Muhammad Ali in the book.
Attaboy. You're damn right you should.
Then we do the Lightning Rod.
Indeed.
New cover.
Looks great.
And then I Am Pay. And then you got Dolly Parton. And that basically wipes us out.
All right, real fast. Any desire to do creator-owned comics, says Zach. And that's the last question.
Stand by, my friend.
There you go. I love it. I love the idea, and that gives me an excuse to have a new conversation with Brad when announcements are made, hopefully. But I know you're tight for time, dude. I love you, and I'm so proud of you, and thrilled that everything's going great. And as always, we have great conversations. And
listen. I gotta say, I've been on this show, and John, I do your Patreon. I love your stuff. But everyone who supports John out there, thank you for doing what you do. I love that you support us too, of course, but thank you for supporting John. He is good people. And he's just truly gives us this the hardest thing, when we were all together, the comic book community is just a really solid, strong thing. I love it. It's like continuity itself. It's like this kind of knit thing that holds us all together. And when we lose that, it's things like Word Balloon that kind of keep that whole knitting in place. So I love you, brother. Thanks for supporting us in every different medium.
Thank you, buddy. I'll let you go.
Thanks, Zach, and everyone else, and Franco and everyone else out there. I love you for it.
Thank you, man. Absolutely. And Sergio's excited for what might be coming. So take it easy. Sergio. And thanks everybody for watching. I've got an Ed Brubaker interview that I did this afternoon that was just recorded an hour or so before I was talking to Brad. Can't wait to release that as well. So that's what's coming up audio-wise. And then I'll see everybody in Baltimore this weekend. Everybody stay safe.